We have a legislative plan in Hartford for the session we just started this week. That plan I don't think has been made public yet, but let me tell you, it's no secret. Let me tell you what we're trying to do. We're looking at violence in Connecticut, gun violence in Connecticut, from three standpoints. The first is guns, and how do we have a better control on guns. Secondly, on mental health. And third, on school safety. Let me mention some problems we have with mental health and school safety in terms of doing something. Mental health, people will say to us, have a psychiatric examination before someone gets one of these guns like this. You can't do it legally, constitutionally. It can't happen. So the concept of a psychiatric examination, a required, mandated psychiatric examination, is really off the books. It just is not. The lawyers have told us it just is not constitutional. It's not possible to do that, to invade a person's privacy by mandating that in order to get a gun. The second issue in mental health is cost. If we start putting a lot of mental health services in, we got a problem. First of all, the state of Connecticut is pretty much broke. We balanced the budget, but we have no surplus at all to add some big new program. If we mandated on the schools and on the towns, the cost would be enormous to do that. And our property taxes would be greatly raised. So approaching this from a mental health standpoint sounds terrific, but it's got those problems in it. Now, what about school safety? The Guilford police chief recently made a calculation of what it would cost to implement the NRA proposal. The NRA proposal is put an armed policeman at every entranceway in every school. And he came back and told me that he approximated the cost of doing that in the town of Guilford alone at about $1 million a year. The governor has indicated that he does not want to take that approach of arming our schools. And so, we're really having to look at some other things. We're looking at bulletproof glass. Herb Graham is here today. Herb, stand up so people can speak to you afterward. Herb is initiating a senior brigade proposal whereby retired people would be able to man the schools at the exits and entrances during the school day. He's talked to one of the police chiefs in this area about that, who has welcomed the idea. And that is something that's one way to deal with it. Not a fail-safe way, but I compliment Herb on wanting to do that. I've really tried to study this thing since Newtown. I not only met with the policemen here, but my aide and I actually went to the firing range of the state police near Simsbury. And we spent about 3 hours there with these kind of guns, trying to understand what it's like and what you can do and not do. And I came away feeling that there's no great, complete answer to gun violence, but I came away feeling that in the state of Connecticut, I'm not talking about nationally, in the state of Connecticut, we can best make our best pursuit, make our best effort by limiting gun magazines and by limiting the quality and components of guns. When I looked and Craig was showing us the figures from other countries like the UK, Canada, Australia, Japan, they have less than 100 gun homicides a year. We average about 10,000 in the United States gun homicides a year. And the reason that they have less, or one reason they have so few, is because guns and ammunition in those countries are strictly limited. Now let me describe two bills that are before the legislature that are getting lots of controversy. The first is Senator Meyer and Representative Godfrey's bill. Some of you have a handout on this. Senator Meyer and Representative Godfrey have introduced a bill which is on the first page of the handout that limits the size of the magazine that contains the bullets to 10 rounds. 10 bullets can go in the magazine. It expands the definition of an assault weapon so that you can't get around it by manufacturing devices like omitting the flash suppressor or omitting the bayonet lug or omitting the adjustable stock. The manufacturer's done a great job of getting around the current definition of assault weapon in Connecticut law. So this bill does that. It goes on, as you'll see, to do some other things. But, you know, the major feature of it is to limit the size of the magazine to 10 rounds. I got very influenced as I tried to study this in the last month by Officer Leary and by the state police as they described to me and showed me that you can change one of those 10-round, 20 or 30-round magazines in 1 second. That a person experienced with these kind of weapons can take out the magazine and put in another magazine in about 1 second. And they showed me that the bad guys have taken a magazine of 10 rounds like this one and have taped to it another magazine of 10 or 20 rounds, so that when they take the magazine, when the bad guy takes the magazine out of the gun he just puts it up the other way. It's taped on at the bottom. 1 second. A major pro-gun person in Connecticut is named Bob Cook. Bob is the executive director of the Connecticut Sportsmen's Coalition, well known to all of us in Hartford. When Senator Meyer's bill was introduced 10 days ago, here's what Bob Cook said. He said that the focus on high-capacity magazines is misplaced. Quote, people are concerned that a 30-round magazine versus a 10-round magazine is somehow significant. Crook said, in order to change a magazine, you push a button. The magazine drops out of the bottom, you immediately slide in a new one, and it takes about a second or a second and a half to do it. So he said, there's no real benefit to reducing the size of the magazine. Now, I read this. I learned from the police that we